Welcome everyone to the newest edition of the Tallaght podcast on what has been a very disappointing night in Tallaght. We have a few replacements today. Coming into the show is Donald Hanks.
That's me.
And Tom O'Connor. How's things, Tom? How are you?
That's a long time no see, mate.
Yeah, it's good to get you back on the show and have someone that has a bit of knowledge and talks a bit of sense for a change.
Is there someone else coming on then on top of me?
No. Very knowledgeable man. Look, it's been an extremely disappointing result. I think it started off with the sort of team news coming in. It was a bit of a shock, Donald. What'd you make of that? I think your reaction in this private chat said it all, really.
Yeah, because I saw it, and then the message I sent was just that the team sheet. The team sheet said, I couldn't get my head around it at all. I spent about 20 minutes trying to figure out who was going to be playing in what position, and I think I'd seen the team without seeing the bench, so didn't realize that there was like the Hoover was on the bench, McMillan was on the bench, Bradley was on the bench. So that was the start of the night, and you were trying to figure out like what was we could go on and on and on and on and on, and we probably will go on for a little bit about what we thought the thinking was behind picking that team. But I think what we can agree on is that whatever the decision making was, the outcome is that Friday night against Shells is an absolutely must win. It was like, so we said, Dave Mackey said before the game, we're making the most of the squad. 3 games in 7 days is pretty tough. So they're making the changes based around fitness and whatever else. So it's a bit of I understand it in a way, but it still feels like a cheap loss of 2 points, not actually properly having to go at Rovers tonight. But I think Tom and myself were talking about this before we started. They almost pulled it off. Like, they frustrated Rovers. They could have snuck a goal in the first half. Nicky Kelly had 2 chances, and we were only really undone by an excellent through ball by your man. So look, yeah, like you said, disappointing night. So the whiskey's back.
The whiskey's nearly all gone, I'd say.
The whiskey's never gone, really, to be honest, but it's on display tonight, we'll say.
Yeah, at least you don't have to hide it tonight. Tom, obviously the team news came out. What did you make of that first, and then obviously a little bit into the match as well?
Yeah, look, I suppose like Donald said, when the team sheet originally came out, there was a couple of options that could have been available. Look, we know it started as a back four with Sam Bone sitting in front of the back four. But when I looked at the team sheet originally, I thought, right, well, there's the option then that you could have 3 central defenders and Dara Leahy and Lewis Mccarry playing as wing backs, because you didn't have natural width in the midfield that was in front of them. So that was kind of my original thought. And then we looked at it. Obviously, Sam Bone had stepped into the midfield and was another shield alongside Paul Doyle, kind of at the base of midfield, or whatever way you want to say it. They were nearly screening a low block or whatever you want. At the end of the day, like you said, probably never laid a glove on Rovers and came within an excellent Mccarry through goal. I mean, that pass, you could watch it. I know we don't want to watch it over and over again, but you could watch it over and over again. I mean, that was, to be undone by a bit of magic. Look, it's hard to take at the end of the day, but I mean, that's what Dundalk came within that pass of taking a result. And I mean, you go, Shelburne are not in great shape, obviously, after being beaten tonight. So I mean, if you take 3 points at home to Shells, you take 3 points, obviously, from the Sligo game, you take a point from tonight, you've won 7 out of 9, and you're unbeaten after 3 games in 7 days. I mean, that's all it came down to. Dickie Kelly's header off the crossbar after 4 minutes, that goes in, and all of a sudden you have a lead to defend. I mean, that there, the near misses, and look, it's easy to say that now that, what could have been. We can all say what could have been. There's, we all know the different sayings, if somebody had something and all that kind of crack, but that's how close it came. And if you get a result on Friday night, then 6 points from 9 and very narrow defeat to a Rovers team who are in a different phase of their existence, so to speak. Like we've spoken about this being a rebuilding phase and all that, but at the end of the day, it's the League of Ireland. Most teams have players on 1-year contracts, so we can get down to rebuilding phase, but we have to start turning draws into wins. Friday night, obviously, like a Rovers, while it was 2-1, they were dispatched fairly handily. Like that was I wouldn't say a fluke of a goal at the end. Like fair enough, it was it was from a throw in. That was the first goal. Said goal earlier on. Like that's the first goal Dundalk have conceded from play since the Bows game and second game of the season. So I mean, in terms of defensive solidity, while obviously, like I said, we had Sam Bone and Paul Doyle playing in there as an extra bodies in front of the back four. Overall, Dundalk have actually been defensively quite solid. Take the opening 2 games where conceded 4 in 2 games. Beyond that, there's been nothing coming through. So going forward, there's a good platform there. It's now a matter of moving that forward and moving into the midfield, getting a little bit more creativity and supplying the legend that is Pat Hooban with even more chance. I mean, he's scoring. We saw how well he played on Friday night, and I suppose it was disappointing to see that he didn't start tonight, but he scores a hat-trick on Friday night, and it's paid off, but see what happens.
Yeah, it's just when I seen that Hooban wasn't starting, I just thought it was a bit odd that McMillan just didn't go straight in there. Like, he hasn't been playing. Like if he is resting players for Friday night, then you think it'd be an ideal scenario for the likes of Dave McMillan to go in there. But I just didn't get to thinking of it. The only logical thing I can get my head around is that, not that he sort of wrote off the game, but he had one mind on Friday night. But then, even the setup just seemed wrong. We didn't have any pace at the center of defense. Like if you're gonna play Gartland, maybe get the extra man in there, like Bone dropping into the middle, and just play the 3 boys in front of them and let the wing backs create an attack down the sides. And I think maybe he tried to stifle it in midfield a little bit with Bone picking up, but it obviously hasn't worked, and I think we conceded possession too easily. Unforced errors probably would have been at a high tonight. The amount of times we've just given the ball away was criminal, but I suppose it's just one of them games. You probably, like you said, it's fine margins. Like if you look, even Bohemians probably were getting rid of Keith Long after Friday night, and then they beat the arch rivals tonight and go up into 4th, I think, after the match before the games was played tonight. So it's a bit of a crazy league. I think we were sitting in 3rd, and I think was Shell's 3 points behind us maybe, but before today's game. So look, there's nothing really in some of these matches, and it sort of reflects that through the league table.
Yeah, we can go through the game a little bit if we want. But what I thought was so changing the players, like changing the starting 11 is one thing, but they played Rovers earlier in the season and played a different system, played a different style that night. Like they had Martin and Hooban up top that night, and they were really, really hassling Rovers' 3 centre backs, and they were pressing them really high up the pitch. And we were we should have won that match that night, but we were the better team for a good 60 minutes of that game. And then to give the onus back to Rovers tonight seemed a bit strange, to only have Kelly up there and to not have 2 people hassling and trying to disrupt passing movements and stuff like that. So that would be the one thing I feel I don't understand I don't know what the thinking was tonight. I'm sure there is a reason. But changing the personnel is fine. There was the system bit that I didn't really understand. But I don't Tom, we were talking about this obviously before as well, but so what I had assumed was the idea, like at the start of the season, and especially like after the first round of fixtures, was like you beat Shelbourne, you beat Sligo, you beat Drogheda, you beat Twin Harps, you beat the teams that you feel like you're definitely better than. But how upsetting or how annoying is it to think that Rovers played our reserves tonight and just barely squeaked by? Like, I know if it comes down to Friday night, if we win Friday night, then it's like 6 from 9. But how annoyed or how frustrated should people be with that tonight?
He's just blind to.
I think, yeah, just ignore me.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Let me get an answer from him.
No, go on ahead, Steph. You can answer it there.
Yeah.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi is getting died. I'm in and out. So if you want to go back in that, don't let me miss the last bit of it.
Oh no, it was only just about whether like, whether how annoyed people should be, or how people should take the idea of maybe just kind of throwing that game away, like just saying like whatever happens tonight happens tonight. Like he obviously thinks that team's good enough to get a result against Rovers, but it's still not the starting 11. Like we know that's not his strongest 11. So people seem to be having or like saying, you know, he has to take responsibility for this. O'Donnell has to take responsibility for this. I'm finding it a bit hard to gauge like how annoyed people should be about it.
I personally wouldn't be overly annoyed because, like I say, it was a moment of brilliance that separated 3 points from 1 point. If you come away and you say, listen, we end with 7 points from 9 at the end of the week instead of 6 points from 9, yeah, great. As it stands, 6 points is still there. The potential for 6 points is still there. If we looked at the start of the season, we're starting now to try and turn draws into wins. So, I mean, if he can come away with 2 wins from 3, for me, that's better than coming away with 3 draws. So the first couple of games of the season, he took a while to find his tactics. You know, he was not playing with tactics, but trying to find out his best 11. And I think, right, fair enough, Andy Boyle didn't start tonight and Brian Gartland started, but with Brian's suspension now coming in, he's going to go back to a central defensive partnership of Connolly and Boyle, which I thought was working very well because they complement each other very well. A lot of traits that Brian Garland would have, a lot of the leadership qualities Mark Connolly brings, and with Andy Boyle, obviously, look, he's been there for years. He had a great reputation before he left, and when he came back, look, he's not the same. There are no players the same when they come back, but he still has that quality. He's still one of the best centre halves in the league. So I mean that you see then Lewis Mccarry, who played, he's much more solid at right back. We've seen over a couple of games that he isn't. He's more of a natural right back. You see then Darragh Lee coming back. He's a natural left back. And look, Steph, you know about this better than I do, but I mean having a sense of balance to the team. We have a natural left back, a natural right back, two central defensive, a central defensive partnership that's starting to form. I mean, look, you see Rovers, once they got Lee Grace, Pico Lopez in that team, there's a strength there. And the midfield and forwards can build on that assurance, you know, from the defence. So once he has that back four settled now. So moving forward, I know I'm repeating myself and all that, but at least you're turning draws now. Are you looking to turn draws into wins? So I mean, the first half of the season, we've gone just over a third of the way through the season. Last Sligo game, the 9th game of the season, was your 1/3 mark. So I mean, if you go through every third and only take one defeat, I mean, the first third, Dundalk had 1 defeat, a lot of draws. If you can go the next third, pick up more points. I don't really mind if they lose an extra game or two, but pick up more points. And by the third section of the season, you're starting to really see where the team is coming from. Well, then look, let next season be a season that Dundalk are looking to push for the title. I don't think this season we can be as hopeful as we like, but this season it's a straight fight I see between Rovers and Derry for the title, and I think Dundalk if Dundalk have a good cup run and if they push 3rd, 4th position, for me that's a successful season. Then if you have the end of this season where you're pushing for those wins, and then you carry that momentum into next season and push your title forward from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, like it's sorry, Steph. It's just like this is where the So like I just throw Frank's comment there about how frustrating it feels tonight, but I guess it's trying to think of like bigger picture stuff as well, but also knowing that the last time I think we made a good few changes was the Shells away game, and we didn't pick up the 3 points that night either. So regardless of who we're playing against, that's 2 games where they've made big changes and gotten 1 point from them. So I don't know. He knows the squad better than we do, so he knows who needs the rest and who doesn't need the rest and all that kind of stuff. But I totally get like it's a building process, and I guess over the course of the season we'll probably just forget tonight because it wasn't that bad. It stings a bit now because we saw the team and everything, but I wouldn't imagine that those 3 points are going to come back to haunt us. Do you know what I mean? Like we're not going to look back on the night we didn't beat Rovers as a reason we didn't finish wherever we finished. But it's just like you're saying, like not really laying a glove on them. I'm still just kind of I'm trying to stick with positive. I'm trying to stick with the positive of the whole process and the whole season so far, but it's just a little bit frustrating what happened tonight. Sorry, Steph, I cut you off.
I think probably if Rovers come in and steamroll us and beat us 3-0, then we go, yeah, look, we played a weak inside in that. But the fact that they beat us 1-0 and it was a moment of brilliance by our Jack in the middle that put Danny through. They just heard it on the commentary about 700 times. but it was it was like nip and tuck. We hit the crossbar, they hit the crossbar. So if we're blown away, then you go, yeah, look, it's a throwaway game. But then on the other side of that, they beat us 1-0, and we're like, if we had played a stronger team, if we had got at them, we would have got something out of the game. But just come back to what something Tom said, like to turn the draws into wins. Like if we had beat Sligo Friday night, drawn tonight, and then drawn against Shells, you've picked up 5 points there. But if you win on Friday night, you've lost tonight, and then you beat Shells, there's your 6 points, which is better. I know it's a bit of a stinger that it's against Rovers, it's up there, and we all know the history of the ex-players, and just as fans, you never just sort of go into a game settling for a draw or like hoping you don't lose. Like, you know, I totally get what you mean, Donal, and just looking at the bigger picture, I think Stephen's still probably trying to figure out, you know, can I rely on this player? If I put him in when we need him, can I rely on him? You know, coming down the line where we need to pick up 3 points here. We need to go away to Sligo and pick up a point or beat Dogged, and he's probably still trying to figure out his players. You can train all day, every day, but when it comes to matches, and you know, some of the better players that I've played with, like you'd be looking at them in training going, you know, how does this fella turn up on a Friday night and be the best player on the pitch? And sometimes it's just like that, you know. You can just put people turn up for matches, and other people that are amazing in training just, you know, flatter to deceive at times. So I'd say he's just figuring all that out. He'll probably have a thing in his head where, you know, he can go to somebody like Sam Bone filling in the middle there. Like he's probably, you know, taking a bit of a chance and put him in there to see what he's all about in the middle as well in this side, and it just didn't work out, and maybe systems and personnel and everything else just compiled together who we were playing against up there on a Monday night as well. So it's just it was a bit odd, just the selection of some of the players and then systems as well. So when you had players like the likes of John Martin, maybe just bring him back in. I'm sure he's hungry to get minutes as well, and anytime he's played, he's done reasonably well in my eyes. Like, but it just makes Friday night against against Shells just that bit bigger, and if we can pick up the 3 points again, then everything's back to back on track.
Yeah.
And we'll forget about this game pretty quickly, I think.
The one thing that I would like to retain in my head from this game was Brian Gartland bursting into midfield and putting an ex-player of ours who can't touch his back with his arms, putting him on his arse for it looked like he was going to pull out of a 50-50, and anyway.
It was a bit of a Joel Matip run for Garland, was it?
Yeah.
Slaloming through flow.
Tom, did you think anybody tonight, say if anybody that came into the team, I guess, did anybody come out with like a better than like a B grade on the report card tonight? Like, did anybody stand out, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, look, I suppose maybe because it's my original position or what, I was kind of trying to look out for the keepers. And look, we were blessed for the last umpteen years to have Gary Rogers in goals. And, every year you kind of realise there's a big save in him every single game. Whether, and look, he always had a big save. Dundalk went on to win 3 or 4-0 and everyone would forget about it. And you'd forget that at 0-0. Then last season, well, we had maybe a different story in goals. I never reached the level, so I'm not going to tear into anybody's professional career. But I think this year it's great to see. Look, Nathan Shepherd, he's going to turn into, by the looks of things, like he's played very, very well. He's very quick off his line. He's playing, he's very comfortable with the ball at his feet. He's a good shot stopper and
he's a shot stopper and he's also an internet cutter offer. Just while we wait for Tom to return, Steph, did you think anybody stood out tonight that will give him a bit of a, not a selection headache, but just give him another option then for the next couple of weeks?
No. No. Look. I think. I hope as Tom come back, he's back. Yeah. So look, we move on.
Tom, you're in the middle of telling us how Nathan Shepherd is a great shot stopper and can turn off your internet while you're in the middle of talking about him. He's gone again.
Yeah, he's I think Danny O'Connell's Wi-Fi. I think he's.
I'm on Chicago Wi-Fi, guys. Sorry, I'm robbing it off Dean. Cross-border Monaghan Calf and things. We can't afford to pay for the Wi-Fi, so we're sharing it, the two of us. But I got unlucky. I'm looking for a refund from the Cavan man because I don't think I'm getting my money's worth tonight on the Wi-Fi. But look, I'll talk to Pingu later on about that.
You have some hope.
Sorry, no.
You're talking.
The Cavan man.
All right. There's a good rivalry there. No, you were just talking about how Shepherd's a good shot stopper and he's quick off his line, and we've seen that a couple of times even tonight, really. So
yeah, and look, even the last, like, I don't know about you guys, but Oriel Park on Friday night, it was quite comfortable, even though Dundalk were only winning 2-0. It was quite comfortable up until the last couple of minutes, and when Matt has scored, then you're kind of going, this would be an absolute shame if Dundalk were to drop 2 points from a position whereby Sligo rarely threatened. So when they got the goal, they started lumping balls into Shepherd for a keeper he's not massive in stature, but he can fly in out and caught 2 balls very, very commanding. And again, going back to what we said about having a commanding central defender, having a solid back four that you can rely on, that builds a platform for the players going forward. So I mean, if you've a keeper in the last minute of a game who, look, I mean, he was under scrutiny for the first couple of games, and even the Shelbourne game that you referenced earlier on, Dolan, and that penalty that he conceded, there was people getting on his back about that. Look, again, I never got to that level as a keeper, so I'm not going criticizing anybody for coming out, and you'd have to be able, nearly where he was standing, Was it a decision where he had to come out and try and clean him out anyway? You know, was it a risk he had to take? But there was question marks after him, especially because he conceded 4 goals in his opening 2 games. None of his fault, but I mean, that lends people to ask questions. Whereas now, I think, look, people can see fairly clear that he's quite, he's a very, very competent keeper. We don't have to worry about that for the rest of this year. And look, hopefully, he'll be there for a long number of seasons to come. So, look, in terms of tonight's performance, I take a massive positive from the fact that Shepherd's starting to really come into his own in the game. Obviously, Mark Connolly, like I say, has been very, very commanding. He's only on loan from Dundee United till the middle.
Till the middle of July, and I think he'll stay. He's a native of Thompson and Monaghan, so
I wonder what his Wi-Fi's like at home.
Yeah.
I just want to throw up this comment from an Andrew Gallagher, long time listener, first time poster. Good man.
Cheap.
Anyway, sorry.
He got to land a Pingu cheap as well. So his Wi-Fi and his cheap. It's going missing now. Yeah, look, I think we were a bit worried about Shepherd after the first couple of games. We're sort of saying about his presence and did he have the stature of a keeper? And I think even just being up at the Malone Cup game and he started a bit shaky, dropped 1 or 2, but ever since that he's grown in stature. And look, I think it's evident from even what you said earlier, Tom, about like conceding from open play. Like he conceded 1 penalty in what, like basically about 2 months. I think it was something along those lines up until the Mata header. So yeah, look, I think if anything he's come out of it well. I think some stuff that you don't see on the TV screens if you're up at the game is Connolly's leadership. How he barks orders, and even I just brought it up. Well, it was Saturday morning when I brought it up, but on Friday night, Mccarry made this recovery run, and he just nipped in front of, I think it might have been Fitzgerald, and it was basically a tackle saving goal, and like Connolly was celebrating with him like he'd scored a goal nearly. And just as a young lad coming into a senior team like that, and one of the senior pros would be, I'm sure he looks up to him, like to get that would be a real confidence booster. And Mccarry's grown from strength to strength at right full. I think he's been so solid there. So I've been really impressed with him. So as well, but look, it's one of those nights where I think we're just gonna have to write it off, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I don't think, unless there's anything we really want to call it, I think I'm going to finish the rest of this whiskey and just pretend that night never happened. I think we can go on to, we can do like a quick little throw forward to Friday night. We're going to assume that there'll be a lot of changes in the starting 11. Do we know anything about the injuries? Do we know anything about Benson's injury? Do we know anything about Williams' injury? As I was away for a couple of days, so I missed a lot. So I don't know whether there is any updates on those.
It's a bad research from you, Donald. But no, I was hoping Tom would have some inside info there for us.
That's probably why he's just left.
Yeah, he's just left again. He knew this question was coming up. He's bailed out again. No, actually, I haven't heard any. I haven't heard any news coming out about it. So you'd hope that the 2 boys would come back sooner than later. But there we go. Benson out for 4 weeks. That'd be massive miss. Some of the games coming up, like he's the one that really kept us rolling in the middle and kept us progressive. Even some of the runs he makes are so clever, and his link-up play is just, I think we've mentioned it so many times before, but his footballing IQ is right up the top in regards to the rest of the league. So for him to be out for 4 weeks, it'd be pretty tough to take. So look, I think he'll have to, I don't know, I think basically, I think the back 5 picks itself. it reverts back to Boyle going in instead of Garland. I think is he suspended straight away?
Who knows? He might be suspended next season. The way these things work, they might just forget.
Yeah. Oh, Williams in a cast as well. Jeez.
Yeah,
No,
that didn't sound great. Like, I think
no, if he's in a
Tom
cast.
Tom, did you see Williams in a cast?
Yeah,
or in a beat or something last week.
I was doing interviews post match last week, and he was coming out on crutches with a strapping around his ankle. Now look, from there, on Friday night, an hour after the game, you never know whether it's precautionary or what. Stephen O'Donnell, we were in a huddle for the media afterwards, and he did say, listen, he rolled his ankle. Now look, how bad can you roll your ankle? Nobody knows till the swelling settles down and you see it the next day, which would have been only obviously Saturday. That's even if the swelling had settled down in time. So the scan mightn't have even been done yet. I don't know, but I do know that he left, with it bandaged, on crutches, and the fact that O'Donnell had said, look, he had rolled his ankle. So who knows how long that's going to be. And with an ankle injury, look, you're just hoping that it is only a roll and it's only a wee bit of bruising, rather than, look, if it's ligaments, obviously it's more long term.
Yeah,
but you would hope not. Like, he's done well. I think he settled well into the team so far. I don't know what you guys think, like, but the three lads looked, three Welsh guys look. I spoke about Shepherd there. I thought he was, he's growing into every single game. I mean, look, I think that James Rogers put up a start there. This was his 10th senior game. As an adult professional. I mean, you kind of forget these guys are playing under 23 and Brentford B football and that kind of crack, and it's not competitive. And look, competitive football is one thing. Under 23 football is a totally different beast. Like, you see lads, Steph, you referenced there how you think Mccarry is really improving every single game. Look, I have to agree with you. If you putting him down, I know John Mountney came in, he got the number 2 jersey and he's looking at the right back slot being his own, but I mean, he's going to have to work for that. I mean, we know he's a lot of credit in the bank when he left here, but he left here as a right winger, he left here as a right midfielder, he didn't leave here as a right back. I mean, Mccarry, as far as I'm aware, now I'm open to correction this, but I think Mccarry was captain of Stoke City under 23s. I mean, that's a different beast. He's a long way from being captain. There's a lot more leaders in that team now ahead of him at senior adult level. And look, he is getting there. 4 or 5 years' time, if he's still at the club, could he be a contender from captaincy then? Possibly. But at the minute, he'd be a long way off the likes of Hooben, the likes of Mark Connolly, you spoke about before, the likes of Brian Gartland. These guys are all at a different level at the minute in terms of leadership. Robbie Benson, obviously, as well. These guys have experience in the Premier Division, and that's what you need for captaincy. Like, so that's, it's good to see, like you said, the likes of Mccarry coming on, but if he's going to take a leadership role, it'll be a nice wee bit down the line.
Yeah. I think just on Williams, like, I've been very impressed with Williams. Anytime I've seen him playing, he's busy and he'll stick his foot in. He moves the ball quickly. He's a good range of passing, and everything about him sort of, there's a bit of class about him. He's played at a decent level. I know he's made a couple of appearances for the Swansea first team and that. So look, it tells you the sort of pedigree he has, and we'll probably do well to keep hold of him in July. Like, hopefully they'll just let him play out the season with us. But look, some of the other, like, you still have to remember, they're still young lads trying to. You're literally learning game by game. They're trying to find themselves, and you're coming up against men, against seasoned pros, and like, if you take that Rover side, for example, like, how many of them have been in and around international sides? Like, so that's the sort of level you're coming up against. But I think some of them have acquitted themselves really well, and like, I keep going back to the same thing, that this is a growing team, and we're gonna keep improving. We're gonna have little bumps in the road, and it's gonna probably be a bit of a roller coaster season as it goes. So maybe not just get too carried away if we pick up a couple of wins, and then don't get too downhearted if we do get beaten like tonight.
Yeah. So next up on the roller coaster is Friday night in Oriel. We gave 2 points away against Shells in Tallaght Park. So are we going to assume it's 3 points Friday night?
I think it's dangerous to assume anything in this league. I think if you don't win on Friday night and you look at Shells are not in a good run of form at home. Like, geez, it sounds strange, but I'd be more confident picking up points off them at Tallaght Park. They've only picked up a point all season at Tallaght. Like, and they were beaten well again tonight. They've picked up, I think I was doing a match preview for tonight's game, for tonight's Shells Bows game, and both Shells and Bows were tied on 12 points before tonight. Shells had picked up 11 of those 12 points on the road, whereas Bows had picked up 6 and 6. So, I mean, the only point that Shells had picked up at Tallaght Park was against us.
Yeah. I think their away form, even if you look at last week, Donald's finished that. Even if you look at like Friday night, like they've went to the Brandywell and beat them 2-1. Like, I haven't seen any match reports or heard anything about the game, but just the result alone, like, and going to some places, even heading to Game Park, where we struggled badly, like they came away with a 2-0 win there as well. So their away form seems to be a lot better. Like you just said, like the facts of it, they're dangerous away from home. So we need to do the business on them. I think we're considerably better at home this season. I think the crowd and everything else about it might have a lot to do with that. Just the home comfort of it, but it's a must win already. Like, I know it's still the early doors, but it's sort of starting to shape the season you're going to have if you're going to be involved in a European push, or if you're going to languish and start worrying about people behind you. You need to start picking up these 3 points, especially at home.
And look, I don't like going back to Shepherd again, but we've stuck with Shepherd throughout the season. You look at Shells have another young Welsh keeper, and he's gone. Like, I won't say he's gone, but I mean, Brendan Clark has been in for the last couple of games. Brendan Clark is an experienced head in a season where Shells are looking to consolidate. They need as much experience as possible. They've brought in, there's another guy who they would have pinned an awful lot of hopes on, is only back in the team, Jack Moylan.
Yes.
Great player. Super on loan at Wexford last season. But again, very, very young. Even in midfield, they're lacking experience. Like they brought in Brendan Clark for experience in defence. Cameron Ledwich, I know he was spoken about in the media, but funny, I thought in that game where we played them at Tallaght Park, I thought he was excellent. You're looking at the likes of Conor Kane, super player, quite young, experienced in the league, but again, quite young. On the far side, they have J.R. Wilson as well. He was suspended for Friday's game. Back, I think he was back in the team again tonight. Again, a young player. Up front, they have Sean Boyd. Probably missed about a year or 2 years. Definitely 1 year with his knee. Super player, scored against us. Scored. I think he scored the week before, the week after. Another super player, but again, quite young. That Shells I'm not saying they lack that experience, but the experienced heads are not there in the same numbers as the likes of Drogheda. You look at Drogheda centre backs, Dane Massey, I think he was 34 yesterday. Keith Cowan's there, Gary Deegan's there. These guys are, Drogheda are nearly stable in the league at this stage, whereas the likes of Shells, like I said at the start, Shells are looking for stability. They're looking to stay and to push on next season. So, I mean, that's where they are. They're looking to consolidate their place in the league. If we can't beat them on Friday, is that where our position now looks at? If we do beat them, well, then you're saying, well, listen, we're the next level above. You're looking at, right, going fighting for that European spot. But if you can't beat a team whose stated aim is to stay in the Premier Division, then, like you say, Steph, where, what way are we doing things like?
Yeah, sort of. I had a wee look at a bit of the second half of that Shells Bows game, and they did show a bit of an experience. I know you talked about J.R. Wilson. I think he's a super player. I've been impressed with him as well. The couple of times I've seen him, and he got into that first division team of the year last season, but he's come off the bench. Maybe it was in the first half. I missed it, but he did come off the bench anyway. And when Bows went 4-1 up, Shells had two gilt-edged chances to get into it. Like Sean Boyd sort of didn't sort his feet out, and he slid one past the post when he was 1-on-1 with the keeper. And then, like you said, Conor Kane, he was impressive for Drogheda last season, and he was bombing down the left, and he put in a great ball. And I can't remember who missed it. It was one of the strikers. I think he might be a red-haired fella.
Shane Farrell, no.
Who was it?
Shane Farrell, no.
Shane Farrell, yeah, I think it was Shane Farrell. He'd hit free kicks and stuff, and he put a header over the bar. He should have buried it as well. And then look, you go 4-3 and they're in the game till the end. So it's fine margins in this league, and everyone looks at the results saying, you know, Bows are after hammering Shells 4-1, but if you looked a bit at the game, it was sort of nip and tuck. But I think Bows cut them open. Like, they had a little bit of class that Shells didn't have in Burt, and he's just hitting the patch of form now that seems to be really flying at the minute. And then sort of Dawson Devoy, I think everyone's raving about him at the minute, and he's a cool kid. I know they've got enough penalties this season already. I think they've got three pens in the last 4 games, and he slotted them all away. So I think they'll probably be looking to the likes of Devoy to sort of, and Burt to really, you know, push them on there, and hopefully they can be in the mix for European places. But I think, you know, this season they've lost a lot of players themselves. So totally on a rant about Bows there, but
I'm sorry,
lose it. Yeah, Donald's trying to reel us in here. Me and Tom, we'll take this offline and just keep the conversation rolling with all these first division teams and everything.
I have to go.
Funny stuff you were saying there about players they had lost, and you know, a few of the highlights from today. I thought Chris Twardek scored. You know, he just showed serious amount of class in little bits and pieces. I watched today's game. For me, he's top class. I would love to see him at Oriel Park at some stage. Just an out-and-out winger who can score goals. It's a throwback, like, the way to watch him, like.
Yeah. That's Twardek's one of them ones that I don't know. I'm sort of, there's something that's just missing for me with him. I don't know what it is. Like, I know there's a lot of people a couple of people's actually said it to me today. Even they'd love to see him in Oriel Park, and maybe Dundalk missed out on him a little bit with Stevie coming in late. I'm not too sure. But yeah, there is a few players, like you mentioned Moylan already. Like, I think I watched the Pats game, the opening game of the season, and like I was blown away by him a little bit, and I know he's sort of been in and out of the team, so it'll be up to him to. I think he had a super season at Wexford last year, and the potential was there when he was with Bows before, so it's up to him to do it in the Premier Division now, I suppose. Just not on Friday night.
Yeah. Just get a couple of quick predictions before we go. Bows and Rovers on Friday night. What score do we think it's going to be?
I'm saying a draw, 2-2 draw. Sit comfortably in the middle of the fence.
I was going to say 1-1.
Right. So then, what about ourselves, Shells, on Friday night? What score are we going with, Steph?
I'm going to go with 3-1. 3-1 to the town.
To the town. Good stuff.
Yes.
Tom, what are you going with?
2-0 Dundalk.
Clean sheet for your mate, Shepard.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Have you given us any yet? No. I'm just gonna.
I'll let you make the decision for me.
I'll wait until you text me later.
Yeah, I'll do it 2-0 as well. Another clean sheet. Assuming everybody's back, maybe he just decides, no, I'm going to put in the under 20 whatevers, and maybe Steph, you get a call up and you go into. I'm not saying that if you went in and played for him, we wouldn't win, but I'd be a little bit less confident just if you were there.
You say we're struggling, yeah, big time. Yeah. O'Donnell's ringing me. Well, do you know any rifles? No.
We just gotta throw that in there because, of course, Pengu picked 2-1.
2-1 that time. He hasn't picked 2-1 this season, has he?
Not that I haven't seen it at all. No. Right, lads. I think we'll just leave it there. It was not a night any of us are going to really look back on fondly.
No, unfortunately not. It was great having you on, Tom, talking a bit of League of Ireland.
Apologies for the bad Wi-Fi. I eventually got it sorted, and then of course Donald says that's the end. So look, I suppose a substitute Wi-Fi on too late to make a difference to the result.
Yeah, once the Wi-Fi was fixed, the drama was over. So there's no point in staying on anymore.
Yeah. Obviously, it'll be great to get you back on then later in the season, and hopefully we're talking about challenging for Europe and not where do we go from here.
Fingers crossed. Look, hopefully there'll be a lot more clean sheets as well. So
that's
the plan.
Yeah, thanks very much for coming on, Tom. It's been great chatting with you, pal.
Appreciate
Steph,
it.
you going to give us the last word then?
No, I can't. Not tonight. I'll have to leave it up to you. Seeing as you dumped the intro on me late. Boys will be reading off their sheets, big intros, and I'm like, well, how's things? So I'll leave it to you.
Look, no one would know that you didn't have that written down in front of you.
Yeah.
Right. Look, I'll just say no Wi-Fi, no drama.